Time to check in with CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk, the State of Crypto newsletter. Good morning, Nick. So, we've been trying to get folks, experts, to talk about Diem and the subsequent fallout that we're seeing, but nobody wants to talk. So, Nick, would love to hear your thoughts on the death of Diem.
Good night, sweet prince. It's kind of crazy. If you took a poll of like anyone who's been following Diem for the last 2.5 years, I don't think anyone would have expected it to, really ever launch. It just never got over the connection it had with Facebook in the early days. There's literally 2.5 years of Diem or Libra trying to say, oh yeah, we have nothing to do with Facebook. They're a part of us, but so is every other company that's a part of us. We're not the same thing. And they just never were able to overcome that. And now they're shutting down, but it's one of those projects where even though it never launched, I think it's probably got the most significant regulatory impact of any single project in the last couple of years. And we're going to be seeing that fallout probably for quite a while, really.
Yeah, would you say that the whole initiative to regulate stablecoins came about because of Diem even being discussed? Do you think that lit the fire under the proverbial tuchus of the Treasury Department and the Fed to say, hey, we got to get something going here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think back, the first time the President's Working Group for Financial Markets mentioned stablecoins was at the end of 2019. It actually might have been it's 2019, I'm pretty sure. It wasn't, they just came out, they were talking about stablecoins forever and ever. They started in saying, we're looking at stablecoins specifically because of how, this one particular project may or may not be looking at this. And it's not just the US. We're talking about, regulators around the world have been talking about stablecoins primarily through the lens of what the original, basket-backed Libra stablecoin vision was. They're not talking about, if we have a single stablecoin backed by a single, asset that's held in reserve at a, in a trusted financial institution. They're talking about, okay, well, if we have this, stablecoin that's backed by a basket of different assets, which are also currencies in their own right, then, here's the concerns we have. And even though now I think you could draw some comparisons to stablecoins that are backed by baskets of securities, it's still a bit different in that there is an existing regulatory structure that would address, security baskets. The SEC in particular in the US, and different countries have different approaches for securities. So that's not going to be as big a concern. Even now, though, a lot of what we're talking about is through the lens of the original basket stablecoin version.
Yeah. Nick, what does shutting down look like? Did they amass assets that they have to start selling? For a project that hasn't never launched, what does shutting down mean exactly? And what does it say about, the difficulty in, they wanted to do it the right way. There are stablecoins out there. We've got Tether, we've got USDC that didn't go through this scrutiny. Yet they tried, and it didn't work out so well for them when they tried to do it the right way with regulators.
Yeah, so taking that second one first, it is really interesting in that a lot of the projects that have sought regulatory permission to launch and have tried to abide by, whatever relevant regulatory structures are in place are not doing as well as those projects that just launched first and asked permission later. So, within stablecoins, you're absolutely right. Diem, in his statement announcing the shutdown yesterday, Diem CEO Stuart Levy said that they have been engaged with regulators since the beginning. And, as you noted, there's tons of stablecoins out there now that just launched that didn't, bother with trying to get permission from different regulators. And even beyond the stablecoin, there's a lot of projects that try to abide by SEC reporting standards or, what have you, that are either not doing so well or are on the cusp of shutting down because there's just no interest or no adoption, or for whatever reason they can't really get people to buy into their projects. So as far as Diem itself goes, in the statement last night, CEO Levy said that they have sold their assets to Silvergate Bank. It's going to be $50 million in cash, $132 million in Class A shares. And what Silvergate gets is the technology, the infrastructure, and whatever IP Diem created. And apparently, according to a Silvergate statement, they've been operating in what they called a pre-launch phase. So presumably, there's more than just some code and some vaporware. But what exactly that is, we're not really sure. And Diem is going to now spend the next couple of weeks just kind of spinning off its subsidiaries and I guess just formally shutting down, saying, yeah, we're this is it, we're done.